No type of infantry is more closely associated with high-intensity conflict than mechanized or armored infantry, and perhaps no conflict would have been more intense than a Fulda Gap showdown in the 1980s. The 80s saw a lot of changes for the US Army's maneuver forces, from new small arms to the introduction of the M1 Abrams and M2 Bradley. In this video, we're going to cover the evolution of the US Army mechanized infantry platoon and squad during the 1980s, including their equipment, organization, and how the introduction of the Bradley changed things. And if you liked it, make sure to check out our Patreon where you can support what we do and get access to exclusive perks, such as our stickers at the sergeant tier. American mechanized infantry of the 80s were carried in two vehicles, the M113 armored personnel carrier and the M2 Bradley fighting vehicle. The M113 was the standard carrier from the 1960s, while the first Bradleys deployed to Europe in 1983 under the 3rd Infantry Division. By the end of the Cold War, US forces intended for defending West Germany were equipped with a mix of M113s and M2 Bradleys. In the Central Army Group, the 3rd Armored and 3rd Infantry Divisions were Bradley equipped, while the 1st Infantry, 4th Infantry, 8th Infantry, and 1st Armored Divisions, as well as the separate 194th Armored and 197th Infantry Brigades had M113s. In the Northern Army Group, meanwhile, the 1st Cavalry and 2nd Armored Divisions had Bradleys, while the 5th Infantry was M113 equipped. And if we look at the 8th Army in Korea at the same time, the 2nd Infantry Division's 1st and 2nd Brigades each had one M113 mounted infantry battalion supporting one tank battalion. This was the extent of US mechanized forces in the Pacific. But onto the units themselves, as of 1977, the standard mech infantry platoon consisted of a platoon HQ and 3 infantry squads. Each element had its own APC. When fighting mounted, the platoon was essentially one single mounted element. However, when fighting dismounted, the platoon was split between a mounted and dismounted element. The platoon HQ included a platoon leader, platoon sergeant, radio operator, APC driver, and assistant platoon sergeant who acted as the machine gunner on the track. Although part of the HQ, the platoon sergeant actually rode in one of the rifle squad's APCs. The platoon also had a forward observer radio operator, and a medic attached when on deployment. The platoon HQ also had a pool of 3 or 4 M47 Dragon anti-tank guided missiles and 2 M60 medium machine guns to reinforce its squads. Each squad in turn consisted of 11 personnel, split into a maneuver team and a carrier team. The squad included a squad leader, a dismounted team leader, 1 M60 machine gunner with an assistant, 2 grenadiers, 3 riflemen, a track commander 50 cal gunner for the APC, and a driver. Exactly how these men were organized depended on the situation, but at a minimum, the track commander and driver always stayed in the APC, leaving a max of 9 dismounts. The majority of the men were armed with M16A1 rifles, except for the machine gunner who always had an M60. Although manuals don't mention it, we assume that the squad members permanently assigned an M60 would also get a sidearm, which at the time would be an M1911A1. However, men assigned to the M60 ad hoc, like riflemen getting the platoon's spare M60, might not have gotten a sidearm. Moving on though, the grenadiers were armed with the M203 grenade launcher on their rifles, and usually 3 or more M72 laws could be issued on a situational basis. Up to 2 squads could also man the additional M60 machine gun held at the platoon HQ, which would eat up 2 additional riflemen. For AT capability, some or all of the squads could also have a Dragon gunner, replacing a rifleman. So, when fully reinforced, all dismounts were either leadership or manned key weapon systems. On the dismount, the organization was ad hoc. Teams could consist of anywhere from 3 to 5 men depending on the manning. One configuration that I've seen described by veterans was heavy teams and light teams, where the heavy team had the squad leader, M60 machine gun team, a grenadier and rifleman, and the light team had a team leader and the rest of the squad. Most doctrinal publications show the team leader at the head of the squad with a light team, while the squad leader is shown at the rear in a wedge with a machine gun. But if under strength, the squad would move in one wedge under the squad leader. Should the platoon be lacking in NCOs, they'd prioritize giving the squad an NCO track commander rather than furnishing a second dismount NCO. This was likely because of the already relatively small squad size on the dismount, as well as the more independent responsibilities of the track commander. This organization was amended in 1985, taking into account the downsizing of divisions and new equipment. The platoon HQ was downsized from 8 men to 7, while squads were downsized from 11 men to 9. On the platoon HQ's track, the main change was the removal of the assistant platoon sergeant. In lieu, one of the assistant squad leaders took over the duty of manning the track's 50 caliber machine gun. Meanwhile, in squads, the carrier teams remained largely the same, but the dismount team was shuffled, then consisting of a squad leader, assistant squad leader, 2 automatic riflemen, 1 grenadier, 1 anti-armor specialist, and 1 rifleman sniper. Whether the squad leader stayed mounted or dismounted would depend on the situation, but the assistant squad leader was always meant to dismount doctrinally. The addition of the automatic rifleman coincided with the adoption of the M249 SAW. However, units wouldn't get it immediately. Until they did, 2 men would operate an M60. Even by the Gulf War, mechanized squads would still typically run 1 M60 and 1 M249 because M249 deliveries were prioritized to the light infantry. The anti-armor specialist, meanwhile, was the Dragon operator, and the platoon's most potent anti-tank capability, in addition to the 3 M72 laws or new M136 AT4s issued to the dismounts. But whether the Dragon was taken out depended on the leadership's judgment of the situation, and sometimes just one squad would be designated as the Dragon squad. And lastly, the rifleman sniper was aspirationally meant to be equipped with a telescopic sight on their carry handle. However, I haven't seen this explicitly mentioned in either the actual squad manuals nor veteran accounts, so they were likely just a rifleman in practice. The M16A1 still would have been the standard service weapon in 1985, but after 1986, units would also start being armed with the updated M16A2. Evolving from the M113 squad, the new M2 Bradley squads were similar but modified due to the more limited dismount capacity and a much superior mounted fighting capability. Platoons still consisted of 1 platoon HQ, 3 squads, and 4 vehicles. The platoon HQ remained largely the same, except for the vehicle crewing. During mounted operations, the platoon leader acted as Bradley commander for the HQ track, and a master gunner acted as vehicle gunner. However, when the platoon leader dismounted, the master gunner would shift to take over the vehicle commander spot. In his place, one of the assistant squad leaders sat in the HQ Vic would shift to take over the gunner spot. In Bradleys 2 and 3, the squad leader would be the one to act as Bradley commander, while the platoon sergeant would command Bradley 4. Unlike the M113, Bradleys would always have 3 crew members present. This left a 6-man rifle team as the dismount element, led by either the squad leader or assistant squad leader. By default in the doctrine, squad leaders would be the ones to dismount, while the assistant squad leaders took over command of the Bradleys. As a result, squad leaders were armed with M203s. Other than leadership, the rifle team consisted of 2 automatic riflemen, 1 grenadier, 1 rifleman sniper, and 1 anti-armor specialist. This would be the state of the Bradley squad until 1993, when they transitioned to a platoon with 2 9-man squads complete with fire teams. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video on the US Army's modern armored cavalry, its heaviest reconnaissance capability equipped with Abrams main battle tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles. We'll see you over there.